Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that goes to the cinema every week, sees a couple of things, or maybe this week I think maybe only one thing, rates them out of 5, stays at home, watches a couple of things on various streaming platforms, rates them out of 5, puts them up against each other, and sees where our money has been better spent this week. My name is Tosin and I am the host, joining you from a place called Bromsgrove in the middle of the United Kingdom, near Birmingham, in between Birmingham and Worcester. And joining me as always on the Isle of Wight is Sharon Bollen.
Hello there.
And joining us from London, our London correspondent, taking a break from her hectic socialite lifestyle to come in here and talk films with us, it's Holly Nesling.
I'd say it's mostly work, not rampant socialising, I'm afraid. Mostly.
But it's like, rampant socializing after work. There's been a couple... Really?
It's often just working late.
Oh, that's what they call it nowadays. That's what the kids are calling it nowadays. All right, cool. So we have things to talk about at the cinema. What have we seen this week?
In the cinema, I have seen The Apprentice.
A film
The Trump.
Yes.
I cannot bring myself to watch that. I cannot bring myself to watch that because I have a bad... I have for my sensibilities. Hang on, Kemi, 1 second. For my sensibilities, I have a bad feeling about this election that's going to happen, and I have a feeling that the next 4 years are going to be horrible. And I do not want. Essentially, I cannot go watch this film until after the election, and maybe even then I won't be able to. I just don't know. I just feel like it might be. Anyway, we'll find out. We'll find out when you get to your review. But I think that's the only thing we've seen in the cinema because. Yeah. The other thing that's available in the cinema this week is Venom, The Last Dance, and I'm just like, no, I'm just not doing that.
I will be doing that on Sunday. I'm doing a triple bill on Sunday.
Wait, you're watching Venom three times?
Venom films.
I'm watching Venom. I am watching. Let me check what else we're planning on. The Heretic.
Oh yeah, Heretic, yeah.
Oh, with
Hugh Grant. Yeah.
Interesting.
And what else do we think? And probably Juror 2.
Ooh.
Juror number 2.
Juror number 2, yeah, the Clint Eastwood film, starring Nicholas Hoult.
Oh, that looks interesting.
Yeah, it
does.
I'll
have to look on the white side, see what we've got on here.
Yeah, it's like, I like that, Sharon. Look at the white side. I like that. On the white side, I like that. Okay, all right, cool. And so I think the only thing we have in cinemas this week is The Apprentice, and at home, I believe you both have watched Ludwig. Or was it Ludwig? Yeah. All right, cool. So let us kick off. Let us kick off with in cinemas as I won't, and let's talk The Apprentice. So Holly, please take it away. Tell us about The Apprentice while I go feed some kids.
Excellent. So The Apprentice is a film about the evolution of Donald Trump. It stars Sebastian Stan as a younger Donald Trump and Jeremy Strong as Roy Cohn, who was a very well-known, not terribly pleasant New York lawyer who took Trump under his wing and helped him grow from a somewhat socially awkward, I won't say quite a nothing person, but somebody without a great deal of presence into the man he has become. The cast is superb. Sebastian Stan is just breathtakingly good. He even gets the subtle facial mannerisms down, not just the voice. And my God, he gets the voice. It's just so good. It is a very interesting film. I didn't like it, but I thought it was very good. And those things I think are quite important differentiations. It was a very interesting insight into the evolution of Trump from being a moderately, a slightly unlikable person, but whom one actually felt a little bit sorry for, to this, incredibly wealthy, really very unpleasant man that we know now. It's, included some rather brutal things that one knows about from, for example, his divorce from Ivana. One knew that he was, well, raped her at one point, and that is depicted in this. It is, yeah, it becomes, it reinforces one's view, assuming one has that view, that he is a very unpleasant human being and a very damaged human being as well. You see how he evolved from the relationship with his father, who was also a very unpleasant man. His relationship with his brother, who was an alcoholic. So it's a very interesting insight into who he is.
Because he's the sort of person, even though we've never met him, we've all got an opinion about him, haven't
Yes,
we? So would
exactly.
you say that this is a I haven't read any of the novels or not novels about him, any of the sort of biographies or the different sort of critiques on his sort of business life or on his politics, or my only perceptions are from through the news or through the general media. So would you say this was an even-handed approach to sort of, if someone doesn't know who he is, would you get an understanding of who this man is?
I
Would you
think
say it was
so.
like balanced, or would you say it was it coming from a certain angle? Because
I
he is
think,
someone you all we form opinion about, don't we? Because he is that sort of he's out
yeah.
there and he's public, and you react in one of two ways. I think certain people respond to him saying, he says it like he is, he's got this sort of bravura, and other people find him just quite repulsive,
I mean,
because he's rude, and some people think that's being bold and just being honest, whereas some people think it's just rude.
I fall in the latter camp. I find him
Yeah.
tasteless and classless, and I don't see him making a positive contribution to the world other than as an example of how not to behave.
Yeah,
But that,
that's probably very much how I see him as well.
yes,
I'm astonished that he's even considered as a presidential candidate, let alone someone who is a former president. I'm
exactly.
astonished. I'm still astonished that he ever was elected president. I don't understand it.
And that's very much what my takeaway was. And it was very interesting to see how he took on board things that Roy Cohn had fundamentally taught him, and shaped them to be his own and took them over. It also is a very interesting insight into Roy Cohn, who you begin thinking is a truly unpleasant man, and you end up with the tragedy of him dying of AIDS in a very, he was known to be gay, but was
Uh, I,
certainly publicly wouldn't say it. So you have
Okay.
this sort of tragedy
Yeah.
at the
it,
same time.
and at times like this is where I get to the point where I'm kind of like, can you spoil something that's actually just historical facts?
Yeah, well, this is my feeling. It's like I knew all of these things when I went into it, because
Okay,
this is publicly available, very
Yeah.
well documented information.
So do you
so
think it was a
so
fair characterization of him, a representation of him?
I think
He's
it
easy to
is,
be the villain, isn't he? He's such a pantomime character to us. But you think
yes.
it's easy to make him into a pantomime villain. Whereas does this sort of show you his humanity in what shapes him as a person?
Yes, I think it does
you,
actually.
you know
And you can
that's
see,
what I'm actually scared of with this film. That's what I'm
you
scared.
don't like him. It doesn't make me like him at all. It made me see how one can be shaped, and I didn't walk away thinking he was purely the product of his environment. It was very clear that, he could have, given everything he could have been a different person. He chose to be who he has become. But allows you to see where circumstances brought him to, how circumstances allowed him to evolve in the way he has.
Oh, okay. So
So
how many stars would we give this?
I'm going to give it 4. Let's say I think it was a really well done film. The cast is superb. It's incredibly well put together.
Mm.
I didn't like it, as you know, as I've said, but I don't think one needs to like things. I mean, you know, my thoughts on the matter. I think one can appreciate something without finding it an enjoyable
Well,
experience.
it was like looking at it
You can
going,
recognise a well-made film.
you're
Yes.
like, this is very well made. I hate it.
I'm really glad to have seen it, but I'm
Yeah.
glad to be out the other side of seeing it.
Well, okay, I think the way you're talking about it is like a parallel to how I felt about Joker. I was like, I can see that there's some craft on screen, but I think it's all being put to very bad use.
That was my feeling as well. I could appreciate Joker was good, but
But
I did not care for it.
yeah, yeah. All right, cool. So that is 4 stars for The Apprentice.
Yes.
I mean, I don't. Oh, no, okay, no. Let's not talk. I don't want to talk about politics in a country in which I can have absolutely no effect whatsoever.
Yes.
So that's like it's just oh my god. But anyway, but a lot of what you guys said, I think it's fair to say we are all largely on the same page here. Wait, actually, I don't know. Actually, don't know what. I reckon that Sean could be a bit. Ooh.
He's
That would be
probably the one who
interesting.
probably would know more about it because he's obviously a
He,
proper sort of
yeah,
American sort of lover, isn't he? He loves
yeah.
the country and he
He's
loves the people and he just loves being there. So he'd
yeah,
probably have a bit of an insight as to what his appeal is
yeah.
because I think we largely just don't see it, but he gets millions of votes. So there is an appeal there, but we just don't see it. So maybe I think with Sean, with his maybe insight, might shed some more light on it, maybe.
Yeah, Sean with his Yankophile hat on.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, cool. So that is 4 stars for The Apprentice, and let's move on. And let's go on to the Netflix and Friends side, and we are going with BBC iPlayer, and we are going to talk about Ludwig.
Yes, both. I think both Holly and I binge watched this after seeing. I saw the first episode on the television, and then I went and watched the rest of it on iPlayer. So this is a series starring David Mitchell, and Ludwig is his sort of nom de plume. He is a puzzle maker. He creates puzzles for people to solve, as in crosswords, logic puzzles, you name it, the whole gamut of puzzles that you can find in book form or on any other form. He creates them. He's got quite an analytical mind. And he is a twin, and his twin brother is a serving police officer. And he is contacted one day to find that his brother has mysteriously disappeared. And he has been asked by his brother's wife to see if he can find out a little bit about what's happened to his brother. And that ruse is that because they are identical twins, that he should be able to go into the police station, just retrieve some personal information, some personal objects from his brother, and then disappear out of it, and no one will be any the wiser. So he starts off doing this, and whilst he's in the police station, he almost accidentally, against his will, gets taken to a crime scene. And without being too big a spoiler, he manages to use his puzzle solving skills to solve the puzzle of who committed this crime. And then the series goes on where you see the sort of like the crime of the week, and then you have this overarching mystery of what's happened to his brother. So we see him stumbling and fumbling sort of socially, but then showing these sort of sparks of brilliance when his natural gifts of a puzzle solver are brought into play in solving some of the most serious crimes. So what did you think, Holly?
Loved it. It made me so happy. And I was so sad to get to the end. And I desperately want there to be another series. Desperately. It's lovely.
I feel the same. I think I must say the things I loved about it were the fact that sort of the some of the improbabilities. For some of the scenes where it's like, let's get all the suspects together in a room, and then I'll go through the crime bit by bit and solve the puzzle. That sort of thing is like, it's so improbable, but it just makes you like it even more because it wasn't like a crime procedural. It wasn't sort of like, the crimes were almost Agatha Christie-esque, weren't they? In that it was just these sort of mysteries to be solved. So yeah, I loved it as well. I just thought I really enjoyed his character, how trying to sort of fit into that police culture and being completely oblivious to, how, the sort of the nuances of the language and what things mean, and just how the interpersonal relationships work, and the rank as even sort of like who to call mum and who to call sir and who to.
Well, okay. The thing with this,
I really good.
Okay. I know that the both of you love this, right? And the thing is, this when I heard the premise of this, I was kind of like, okay, that's a bit ridiculous. It's a bit, and I know, especially for you, Sharon, somebody who's worked in the police, like the idea that somebody could just walk in and immediately sort of like, blag it.
Solve murder. Yeah, blag it. Solving murder.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah. And I was like, okay, but it's one of those things I was like, okay, but if you go with that premise, this sounds to me like a cozy Sunday afternoon crime kind of thing. It's like sort of like in your sort of a bit Miss Marple Murder, She Wrote kind of vein. But with, I don't know, smartphones. So
yeah, in real life, I mean, he probably wouldn't even get in the building. And just like, how could you do any of your work without being able to access your computer? And he's like, I don't think he accessed his brother's sort of computer for like weeks, did he, or something? And he was just like, it's like, could you exist in a modern world without actually logging into the computer at all?
Yeah,
and all like the mundane jobs that you have to do every day. Those sort of things, I think.
Yeah, but from what you guys are saying, it sounds like this coast.
But you don't care.
Yeah, this gets by on a bucket load of charm. It sounds like because that's the only way this show could work by coasting by on a bucket load of charm. And I know that with David Mitchell, he can be charming, especially with Anna Maxwell Smith, who plays his brother's wife. Oh yeah, he plays sister-in-law. Yeah, and I know both of them together. I mean, I will love her forever for Motherland. She is brilliant. She is absolutely brilliant, Motherland.
Yes.
Yeah, and
I love her from Bleak House.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. I mean, she's one of those people who's been in a lot, but I think only really started getting noticed later in her career.
Yeah.
But you go back and you're like, oh my god, that's her, but younger. When you go back and watch some other things. All right, so Holly, I have of course been listening to everything you said, but have you given your thoughts on this?
I have. I said that it brings joy to me, and I loved it. I loved every second of it, and I'm so sad that the series ended because I want more desperately, and I'm really hoping that there will be a season 2. I can't see how there wouldn't be, and that it comes around really fast.
I'm guessing this was like a typical English BBC 6 episodes kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. 6 episodes, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That's the way you do it. Leave them wanting more. Not like okay. So a show that I think would kind of be probably a bit similar. Have you guys ever watched Monk with Tony Shalhoub?
Oh.
Yeah. So
we used to watch that back in the day.
Yeah. So Monk. I started watching Monk on Netflix, and when you get to season 1, 24 episodes. How many seasons of this did they make? 8 seasons. I'm like, no, I just can't. I just can't. I mean, it helps sometimes when I'm up with my daughter at night, because then I can sort of watch things like that. But
it's like US Ghosts. So, I love the UK Ghosts.
Yes,
and I've watched them all. I can sort of sit and just watch them back to back, just a whole season's worth. But US Ghosts, again, it's like 15 episodes or more a season. And they've got 4 seasons now, and I think they've done more episodes in the first season than
probably the entire run of the British version.
Run of the UK ones. And so I've started watching. I'm thinking, this is just too much.
It's like, oh, what more could you possibly do? All right, cool. So, how many stars did you give Ludwig? How many?
I haven't given it yet.
Oh, okay. So, how many stars would you give Ludwig?
5.
You get 5. I'd say it's a definite safe 4, but it's a top 4. I think it's top 4. Could it be a 5? It's close to it. It's as close as I've seen since probably Ghosts or, Detectorists. But yeah, I'd still say for me, it's probably a strong 4.
All right. Okay, cool. And I think that is all we have for the fight bit of the show. That's all we have for the versus bit of the show, because it would be unfair. It would be unfair on poor old Donald Trump in The Apprentice to have two things gang up on him from the TV side of things. But I did want to say something. I guess, okay, this is not an official review, because between that, who's won, do you guys reckon? Netflix or cinema this week?
I think Netflix and Friends.
Just about because of the 5, because of Holly. So because of Holly, who couldn't quite bring us up to give Donald Trump 5. Anyway, so so a while back, Holly, I texted you saying Only Murders in the Building season 4 back on song, because I have finished watching Only Murders in the Building season 4 now. And this is a show that when it first started, first season, it was Steve Martin, who we hadn't seen do anything for ages, and Martin Short coming back, being best friends on TV and bringing Selena Gomez along for the ride. And there was something really, going back to the whole sort of cozy crime thing about it. There was something cozy about it. There was something funny about it. There was something just warm about seeing Steve Martin do his Steve Martin thing again. And then the more it went on, I think by the time it got to season 3, it was kind of like, okay, this is essentially the problem was that the crime element of it was just not satisfying, as for me anyway. I'm not sure how you felt about it, Holly. The crime element was just not satisfying, and the solving the crime was really not satisfying. It was just kind of like bumbling from one place to another, and the going, it's you, it's you, it's you, it's you, it's you, it's you, and eventually you're going to get the right person if you keep doing that. But Holly, I don't know what you were going to say.
I would say I haven't seen season 4 yet, so
yeah, no, season 4 you haven't seen, but I thought you saw season 3.
I did see season 3. I liked season 3, but it was a bit all over the shop.
Yeah, it really was.
Enjoyable viewing, but not as good as seasons 1 and 2, though I've heard people say to the contrary. And that they thought it was the best of all.
What season 3 was? No, I think I'm in the same camp as you, because after season 3, I thought I was like, I'm not coming back for season 4, because they also have this what's the word? They have this system or this thing where, so every season, in the final episode of every season, somebody dies so the basic premise of this thing is that there's these 3 people who are podcast enthusiasts. They find out they all like the same podcast, and then somebody dies in their building, which is this old Art Deco building in New York called the Arconia, and then they decide, oh my god, we could do a podcast about this, and try and figure out this plan. And so they ended up becoming podcasters, and every season they're trying to solve a new murder that has happened in their building. So people keep dying in their building.
Oh, not a safe place to live.
No, not a safe place to live.
There's like Midsummer.
Exactly, like Midsummer, or that place that Jessica, what's her face in Murder She Wrote,
Cove or whatever it's called.
Yes, it's kind of like, why is everybody living here? and every season, the last thing that happens in the season is they find another dead body in the building that leads, and that's what you're going to find in the next season. And that's how they do every season. This final episode is going to end with somebody getting killed. And they have gone to the point where this show has become ridiculously starry. Because the first season, it was like you had Steve Martin Short, Selena Gomez, Sting shows up for a bit. But in this season 4, there is a scene in which you have Steve Martin Short, Selena Gomez, Eva Longoria, Eugene Levy, Zach Galifianakis, Melissa McCarthy, Meryl Streep, all in the same scene. Yes, all in the same scene, and you're like, "What the heck is going on here?" Oh, Molly Shannon's in that scene as well, and there's bits where it's just kind of they do well enough to give them something to do. But for instance, there's a whole Melissa McCarthy thing that I don't understand what it's doing there. I don't understand what it's doing in the show. But the beginning of this show, I would say the linchpin for, if you pardon the pun, for this season 4 is Jane Lynch, and every time
from Glee.
Yes, and Jane Lynch. Every time Jane Lynch is on screen, this season sings. The first 3 or 4 episodes, which are dealing with, so the Steve Martin character, they're dealing about the Steve Martin character because he's an actor called Charles Hayden Savage, and Jane Lynch plays a character called Saz, who has been his longtime stunt double. And the relationship between it's quite a funny thing. It's good that the whole underlying thing is actually one of the joys of the show. It's like how his stunt doubles a woman, and what their relationship has been over the years. Like, because they've been working together for decades and everything like that. What the relationship, and the first 4 episodes or so really delve into that relationship between Charles and Saz, and they are so touching. They are amazing. I mean, the first 4 episodes of this are great, and I think they're brilliant, and the way they go into it. Then when they come to sort of like trying to solve the crime itself, there's no real craft to it. It's just again, it's you. Oh, we kind of like stumble across the answer, and that bit it just kind of like dampens it down for me. But essentially, anytime you have Jane Lynch on screen with Steve Martin, the show sings, and it's just so brilliant. And yeah,
I feel that I always feel slightly disappointed when I see her and she's not wearing a tracksuit.
Well, okay.
I just feel like, oh, where's your red tracksuit?
Okay, so in that case, things I'll tell you, right? Okay,
But it makes me want to see it now that you tell me she's in it. It makes me want to see it.
Oh no, honestly, you don't really need to have seen any of the other seasons. And I think season 4 is where she has the most to do. So Jane Lynch is on the screen the most in season 4. But also another show that she's in that I think will there's no red tracksuit, but she's brilliant. If you see The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, whenever Jane Lynch shows up, it is hilarious. She is so funny in that show. I mean, I absolutely love her in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I mean, she's kind of like one of those guest stars. You know when you have like a guest star that shows up once a season?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like what she's like in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Shows up, but every episode that she's in is hilarious. It's just plain hilarious. You can probably just watch just the episode she's in, and they carry they work on their own as a sort of like a through line or anything like that. But anyway, yeah. So Holly, my point was I just wanted to let you know that Only Murders in the Building season 4, it starts really strongly. Jane Lynch, Steve Martin, love that stuff. Then it goes in there, but the same weaknesses apply. Which is that the crime element of it and the mystery element of it doesn't pass muster. It's just kind of like, but the comedy element of it, great. I mean, Ron Howard shows up for a bit. The bit where they have, because there's, I know. Ron Howard shows up in this. They have, there's a bit where they have, because the whole idea is that they're making a movie of Only Murders in the Building within the TV show of Only Murders in the Building. So they have cast Eugene Levy to play Steve Martin, Eva Longoria to play Selena Gomez, and Zach Galifianakis to play Martin Short. and all that stuff is actually quite funny, talking about actors and their stuff. But anyway, I think all in all, I would give season 4 a 3. I liked it more than season 3, but mainly because of the first 4 episodes, and mainly because of the Steve Martin Jane Lynch connection, which I just think is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And that is me. Okay, what, you want more food? Okay, I'll get you some more food. and that is me done. So I think that's us done for the week.
I think so.
Yes, until next week when Holly is going to subject herself to Venom: The Last Dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, each time I say that title, I feel like I just get this image of Tom Hardy as Venom with the symbiote on, Dancing with Julia Stiles. And those of you, late noughties kids will get what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Late noughties. Other people might not get it. They might not get it. Sharon, I don't think that this one would have been your kind of bag. But anyway, until next week, it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from the little one in the corner who just keeps making noise.
Bye-bye, sweetie.
Okay, bye. Thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye.